if you're a young, innocent woman or you're an older, experienced woman, it doesn't matter, you die. And that seems to be the woman's portrayed experience in opera written by the canon of dead white men.
If I'm presenting my 5 arias in an audition, none of them are women.
Most people are only aware of 3 or 4 names.
There are women that write great operas and there are women that write great libretti.
There's a summit at McGill with lots of people in the opera world in Canada, and it's celebrating women composers. There's a workshop being held, and I get to perform a couple of the pieces. I don't think I've ever sung a composition of a composer who's still alive, so this is a first for me.
So now,
we are so used to working with men. We have men directors, we have men composers, we have men coach. Every one of us is really inspired by what they have built, bringing all of these women in the same room. And this is amazing.
Musique Trois Femmes had a residency here with some of my students, singers and pianists, and put together 5 new operas. It was incredible. Opera's been around for over 400 years, and for almost all of those 400 years it's been written by men and produced by men. Now, here we are in 2019, and it is way past time that the women composers are being put onto the stage. So there's actually a lot of new opera that's being written by wonderful female composers and librettists.
Women were denied the right to create and to compose and to have their works published for so long that there are just years and years and years of the repertoire that are not available to us.
We found the women that we've included in this book series initially through a call for proposals, and we expected to have enough to fill 1 volume and then had this overwhelming response and enough to fill 4 volumes. And I think what happened in that process was that it went from being with the focus on gender, a book on music by women composers, to a kind of a celebration and showcasing of fantastic music. I think there's a really, really simple answer to why you may not have heard of these women, and that is that I don't think you've had the opportunity to hear of them. So for the most part, with some exceptions, their music is not being programmed, so performed, broadcast. Their music is not part of the scholarly discourse at conferences and in publications, and their music is not included in the textbooks with which we teach our students. So I'm not suggesting there's a conspiracy to exclude music by women composers, but I would say that their music has been valued less highly than music written by men, and that the predominating gender who's had power in the past has not seen it to be a priority to address the imbalance.
Oh, I want more of it. That's the point.
Sort of started with this, we wanted to do kind of an oratorio with a modern topic. So we thought social media, because I thought it would be so funny. You go in to see this concert, you're expecting something like the Messiah, and instead we're singing about Facebook and we're singing about Twitter.
It's a piece about 2 women on the road in the north to a safe house. So one of them has been there years before and lost a child on the way. And she's meeting this other woman and she says, yeah, I'm gonna get you there.
Wishing we could be someone different than I am.
This piece is a sort of chamber song opera inspired by the life and writing of Anne Frank, particularly the sections of her diary that were redacted from their original publication. There were interests in presenting Anne Frank in particular ways, and now that that material has been released, a more three-dimensional woman is coming out through her writing.
The anatomy of the piano was already used in her play, and I asked her, can we elaborate on that, and can we use the piano as a person in this opera? And so that's how it all started.
Yes, it was a blow. Yes, she will be missed. Yes, I'll let you know. And yes, you are dismissed.
It's quite a personal journey back, taking a story from years ago that I wrote and suddenly reviving it and telling it through opera.
For today, would you please just go away?
I'm very touched. I get a little bit verklempt when I see that group. We have a group photo of the winners, and I love that they are now also, they can also be faces of opera.
When you listen to the playback, it's never as great as hearing the real thing with singers. And so it was really a fantastic experience to have the singers sing it and hear it for the first time for real.
Nothing on earth has prepared me for life like the internet. It handed me
Opera McGill has given us the facility, they've given us their studios, they've given us their students, they've given us their faculty, their time, their just everything that we could have needed to be equipped for this.
I feel very lucky because I am aware this is not an opportunity that every young singer will have, working with new composers. They change the music while you are workshopping the music. So you have to learn to do and undo very quickly, which is a skill that's so valuable when you're a young singer. Yes.
There's a lot of women gathered in one place, which in opera is very unusual. And it really feels like a place of open dialogue where people are not afraid to ask questions, make suggestions, we can revise on the spot. It just feels like a very collaborative experience in the way that opera making really should be.
I'm showing off. If I'm silent, I'm plotting.
We are starting to see some changes, and right here I've noticed at McGill, for example, student recitals will often include music by female composers. And I'm very proud that this season, the 2018-19 season, all of our major ensembles have included compositions that were written by women.
I'm very excited to be back at Opera McGill. I am thrilled to be directing the Francesca Caccini opera Liberazione di Ruggiero. I am very honored to bring her work to this stage.
Caccini was born in 1587, and she was quite a prolific composer, although not that much of her music survives. Regardless of whether they had an audience or not, these female composers were driven by the same impetus that drives any composer, so the need to express themselves creatively through music, to express ideas through music. It's no different. The libretto for the opera is an epic poem called Orlando Furioso, and it's a poem that would have been familiar to the audience of the time with certain stock elements. There's a good sorceress, there's a bad sorceress, people go around in disguises, there's a dragon.
So this piece, I would label it as a dramedy, so there's a lot of drama mixed in with some comedy as well. We have this goddess, Queen Alcina. Men, her ex-lovers that she is now bored of, are encapsulated in frames in the wall. I stole that from Harry Potter with the moving portraits, so in our production we're going to have all of her former lovers acting as the walls of this house.
I understand that at the premiere production, the opera was followed by a kind of a dance exhibition of 24 horses and their riders, but I don't believe the Opera McGill production is going to include that.
The work that Opera McGill is doing, both for its students and now with the inclusion of Musique Femmes and then hosting this great summit, is really knocking the socks off of the opera industry in Canada, and I think hopefully opening everybody's eyes just a little bit wider.
Portée disparue.